Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. I'm feeling much better today. We don't have the dengue anymore. We don't think. A couple little lingering issues, but we're fine. T-Dog, good morning, Bitcoiners. Coffee in hand. We like to hear it. We like to hear it. We love coffee. John, good morning, John. Thomas, patiently waiting my morning nuggets of truth mixed with sarcastic humor with coffee in hand. Good morning, all. We'll be talking about your homeland, El Salvador, today, Thomas. Bitcoin Deb, good morning, folks. Coffee in hand, Labrador on my lap, ready to watch the breakup. We love it. Thank you, Bitcoin Deb. Thank you for coming. B for victory, Bomatan. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Hope you're doing great. Ben, good morning, team. I realize that the sun is up and the future never looked brighter. We're going to talk about what a bright future we have. It's all coming together. 2024, delivering. Good morning, Bitcoiners. I'm off to the fiat mines. Good luck, Matt. Come back with all of that ammo to buy more sats and destroy this disgusting beast. Good morning, Hassan. Good morning. Sean recommends. Good morning, all. Tom. Good morning. Enmity. Good morning, Breakup Crew. Muslim Bitcoiner. Assalamu alaikum. Cash carry a few days ago. Has anybody ever bought something using BTC as a currency, a sandwich, a computer, anything, as a room of 40-plus-year-olds shaking heads? Good guy. Again, I got to tell you, the simulation winks at us because this guy, Cash Carry, the actual trade that is going to destroy, like to short the US dollar, is going to be the cash and carry trade. So thank you, Cash Carry. Go look up cash and carry trade and you'll find out. Good morning. As for me, I like the Bitcoin. We all love the Bitcoin. Eric V, good morning. It's the beginning of another great day indeed. Moscow times getting better. Doc Blockchain, good morning. Good morning. All right, we got to acknowledge the sun is up here. We don't have any troubles with the sun. Sun tech operational. Coincidentally, the money tech is also running. We're great. We're great. We're not going to die. Let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. Thanks, Defina. Yeah, I'm feeling better, everyone. I'm feeling better. Thanks for wondering, everyone. Indeed, the dengue looks gone. I managed to do a lot of heliotherapy yesterday, that being lying in the sun in the afternoon yesterday. My wife got it yesterday, so her symptoms started to come through. So she was laid out. So at least we had a bit of we weren't overlapping entirely. It seemed like I got attention enough to watch the children once her symptoms kicked in. And so yesterday afternoon, I took the kids down to the beach and just tried to rest. And slowly the sun started to make me feel a little energized. And I was already, just walking there was a thing, but I was already on the mend yesterday. I wouldn't have done, when I went to bed 2 nights ago, there was no way I was doing the morning show. But when I woke up yesterday, I was able to do, whatever we did, 20, 30 minutes. Break bone fever. Yeah, that's what it is, Dr. Satoshi. Break bone fever. Yeah, it was the bone, it was the soreness that really got me. That's still there. Like I had to tell my kids a few times in the water afterwards, like stop, because they like to, grab me and jump all over me when I throw them, and we do the boogie boarding and everything. We did some boogie boarding, but I couldn't do much more. I had to tell them many times, please stop. But we're good. The back is still a little sore, but we're good. We're good. We got the stamina. You're not here to hear about my dengue stuff. You're here to hear about the fake news. You want to hear what Moscow Time has to offer today because it's one of the best. We're getting better and better Moscow Time submissions from the fake news. The fake news is really coming into its own in 2024. We're predicting 2024 is a great year for Bitcoin and for individuals involved in it. Looks like Bukele is going to have a great year. Looks like all kinds of people are going to have a great year in 2024. The fake news is going to reach new heights in Moscow Time submissions. So let's start with a little palate cleanser, a little easy one, right? We want to do the easy ones first. So this comes from The Economist, and they're very surprised about this, right? Universities are failing to boost economic growth. Too often they generate ideas that no one knows how to use. News. It's news. It's news. If you're worried about, Trump and what's going on with his convictions, Politico, right? They got this advice. A Trump criminal conviction could give Biden a bump. A Phil bump. It could give him a bump. New poll finds. All these polls, You got to look into the questions of some of these polls sometimes that they ask. If Trump killed someone, would you still vote for him? Right? Well, but if you ask these people in the poll, if you knew that Trump was being unfairly indicted, would you still vote for him? Yeah, and that's the poll answer that they're going with, right? They don't tell you what the question was. Anyway, we're not supposed to do context on Moscow time, so I apologize for that. Here's another one. This is from Canada. We love Moscow time in Canada. Canada halts controversial assisted suicide program for mentally ill due to lack of doctors willing to participate. Dr. Satoshi, I got a job for you, man. Come on. Move to Canada, rack it in. You could turn all that into sats. All these crybabies, they come to you and you could say, I got some Canadian healthcare for you. And I hear you make a lot of money off that. And you can buy sats with that all day, right? That's a great business model. Go to Canada. Look for the mentally ill. Get some money. Oh, well, here's an update from Politico. There was the boxes hoax that Trump is going under. Remember, there was one with Biden as well. Well, Politico lets us know Biden classified document case ends without charges. Cool. Politico says, could Taylor Swift tilt Florida blue? It's Democrats' wildest dream. We're never gonna miss a Taylor Swift headline, guys. We're never gonna miss one. We love them. They're the best headlines going, right? This one's good. This is from NBC News. All right. This is from NBC News. New. There have been at least 33 instances since 2020 when people or institutions singled out by libs of TikTok later reported bomb threats or violent intimidation. So, since 2020, anyone she's criticized, if any time in the future there's a bomb scare, it's her fault. It's her fault. Libs of TikTok. This one's good too. All right. So you might have seen Elon Musk bragging that X is now the #1 app on the planet to be downloaded on the iPhone, right? So it's the #1 on the planet. But The Verge is giving us context for why. It sounds legit to me. All right. This is why, apparently, according to the fake news, why X is the most downloaded app in the world today. All right. It's not because of the failure of the fake news guys. It's not that. All right. It is not the failure of the legacy media. Here's the reason why everyone's turning to X. X hits #1 on App Store as leaked Drake nude goes viral. For the second time in 2 weeks, X is struggling to moderate nude images of a celebrity spreading across the platform. So the reason why everyone's downloading X is because of the dick pics. They got Drake's dick on X only, exclusively on X. That's the reason why, guys. If you were wondering if there was a new thirst for not fake news, nope, it's all just dick pics, guys. It's just for the dick. Everyone's going to X for the dick. All right. That's what they want on X, is the Drake dick. This one's great. So you might be encouraged by X becoming the #1 app being downloaded, but don't worry. The other one, YouTube, right? YouTube CEO. You got to see this fella too. I'd never seen this YouTube CEO. You got to go have a look at this guy. He's got some he's got some insulin resistance going on. All right. He's got at least 4 chins, at least. But he's letting us know here, and I'm not trying to fat shame him, right? I'm just trying to say he's got bonus chins. He's just got bonus chins. That's it. It's just a bonus. He says YouTube CEO vows to censor hate speech and boost authoritative sources in recommendations when people look for election news in 2024. So we don't have to worry, everyone. The multiple-chinned CEO of YouTube is reminding us all that he's going to help us by censoring the hate speech, and he's going to boost the authoritative sources. Excellent. Oh my goodness, it's so great. This one's great too. So they were talking about, on MSNBC, they were talking about the RFK candidacy yesterday. RFK, were they talking about his plan to fix American health, American food? Which one was it? Was it that the president wasn't giving him any security or Secret Service detail? Was it any of those stories? Nope. MSNBC has the following headline. Voters choosing between 3 parties instead of 2 is a threat to our democracy. They actually even used threat to our democracy. Apparently, they haven't seen the compilation video that everyone loves. That's one of the best, eye-awakening videos you can ever send someone. The composite video of threat to our democracy. You gotta, if you still have someone that in the world who hasn't seen that, you gotta show, because I've seen that work in real time. So that's a good one, right? But they actually use the word threat to our democracy. So good for MSNPC, but they know no one on their thing has seen that video. There's no way. Oh, this is great. So you've got all of these complaints about the Tucker Carlson interview, right? Hillary got wheeled out yesterday onto the MSNPC as well. And here's what Hillary Clinton has to say about Tucker Carlson being in Moscow to interview Putin. He's like a puppy dog, she said. He is a useful idiot. He's been fired from so many outlets here in the US that I wouldn't be surprised if he emerges with a contract from a Russian outlet. In other news, he's going to be sanctioned, apparently. Newsweek reports that the European Union is threatening personal sanctions on Tucker Carlson for going to Russia. So I've been sanctioned before. I've got advice for Tucker. It's no big deal. It's like, just because they treat you like Osama bin Laden, it can sometimes go away. But the good news is there's Bitcoin. We're going to talk about it later, but you don't really have to worry about it. When I got sanctioned in Canada, I was already de-risked from that shithole. So it kind of sucked. I still can't start a bank account with confidence. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can go in and start up a bank account, but the minute I made a transaction, it wouldn't work. So that's what Hillary said about it, right? Meanwhile, people have been resurfacing a hard-hitting journalism article from the legacy media on Zelensky, right? So everyone's saying, the thing they want over with the Tucker interview, why can't they get it? Why are they getting all of these questions and answers and Putin and this and that? They did this interview before, and they found out that Zelensky, right? They interviewed Zelensky over at CNN. And they asked him, what about dying? What are your plans for mitigating the death rate in your country? What about the credible whistleblowers who have come out and said you're thieving everyone? Nope. CNN asked what his favorite music is when he's stressed out. So Zelensky, and they wrote an article on it, thankfully. Zelensky says, in case you're wondering, okay, I know some people are here to get answers and hear a bit more about what's going on with the BRICS and what's going on with treasury assets being taken by the US government in the case of Russia, or what's going on with the border, right? Those are all important questions, but luckily CNN has answered the most important question. I'm going to give it to you, right? It's classic rock band that helps him relax. So Ukrainian's president Volodymyr Zelensky tells CNN's Aaron Burnett how he finds ways to have moments of solace amid his country's war effort against the Russian invasion. And so I'm sorry, I didn't actually get the name of the band he likes. I think you have to watch the interview to get that. So I thought they would mention it here in the headline, so I'm letting you down. I don't really know what band Zelensky likes. So I'm really sorry for that, everyone. I know you're waiting, and it's really important. So the last one here is from Glenn Greenwald. So this is, we're doing a one more Moscow time headline, and then we'll move into the theme of the day. So here, the people on MSNPC yesterday, with the Chiron below, right? The Chiron saying, growing fear of disinformation as Carlson meets Putin. Right? There's a growing fear. It's a growing fear. And Glenn Greenwald writes, perfect that the MSNBC's segment on how everyone should hide their kids and wife in anticipation of Tucker Carlson's scary interview with Vladimir Putin. The person they bring on to warn of the dangers of disinformation is the former associate director of the FBI. But he also comes in. I forgot to do this. There was one I forgot here, so I got to go back and get it, because there was another Glenn Greenwald quote that I needed to do my transition to the theme. And here we go. Let me find it. It should be next to the other one. Yeah, here it is. So, oh no, that's not it. Or maybe I didn't do it. Okay, let me just find it because it is literally important. I saved a bunch of Glenn Greenwald things, but this one is good. Okay. 1 second. Here we go. Maybe I don't have it. No, I do. It's just below. No, maybe not. Maybe I hallucinated it. I thought I had a really good quote from him, and maybe I don't. Okay, maybe I will find it. Yeah, here it is. Or maybe not. Anyway, boring. Sorry. What he ends up saying is that the mainstream media's job seems to be to just justify what they're doing in let me try and word this properly because he had it perfect. The point here he's trying to say is that the mainstream media, if they don't like what you're saying, right? If the audience doesn't like it, if the audience can't understand it, it's not about trying to explain policies better. It turns into saying that the audience, the Democrats, are not smart enough and they have to be re-educated, right? That it's an education process. That really the problem of people complaining about X, Y, or Z, in this case, the misinformation case, right? What you end up doing is you turn it into the problem of the audience. The Democrats just need to be reconvinced that a thing is in their best interest, right? So, was it yesterday that I had that one? Maybe I'm splitting two stories into one or something. I don't remember. Anyway, our brain is still a little off, I think, but we're fine. Okay, so anyway, I can't find it. So the point here being that the mainstream media's job becomes focused on simply saying the audience needs more information, right? And the problem here is you guys are too dumb, right? It's not questioning what they do wrong, and it's been that case on Trump going up in the polls. Oh, they need more information, right? They need more information. It's not enough. So when you hear people say, that the growing fear of disinformation on Tucker Carlson, it's really just because they have no way to persuade anyone anymore, and their persuasion capacity is down to nothing. It's down to literally just nagging people, telling them they're dumb. If you don't listen, if you have different priorities, it's your problem, right? Don't tell us in the mainstream media our priorities are wrong. So really getting into this question of nagging people, saying they're too stupid, and really that being their job now, their job being to just excuse the behavior of the government and to present the problem with Democrat voters themselves as being too close to the stupid Republican rubes. And that's the problem. That's why they have to shift their opinions to the priorities of the mainstream media, which are in lockstep with the priorities of the governing party. So, but here's what I continue to believe, right? That this type of persuasion, and this is why I can't imagine 2024 going any other way but for Bitcoiners, because the persuasive power in the legacy media is so weak and feeble. It really is just a bunch of nagging losers. And it's people like Phil Bump who have to lie. It's people like Hillary Clinton who have to lie. They have to nag you. They have to say it's not cool. They have to say you should be ashamed. They have to embarrass you, right? They have to use all of these weird tricks instead of just debating things and talking about them. And one of the things about persuasion is that there's sort of an order, there's a hierarchy that's hard coded into us. We can't avoid it, right? And that is that, okay, ideas and rhetoric can work in a world where it's only that. But the minute you introduce real physical danger and fears and actual things to be afraid of, you start changing the formula here. And Now we're starting to see with the Tucker Carlson himself being sanctioned or threatened to be sanctioned. That in the context of what's going on with financial surveillance and all of these things is a big, big, big red flag, and a big thing that's going to help motivate more people away from trusting any of these sources, because we're down to the level of personal security. And when we're down to the level of personal security, the brainwashing and persuasion just isn't as powerful. Now, they can induce fears. That's why they do it, right? That's why fear is one of the number one motivators. But who should you be afraid of? What should you be afraid of, right? Well, Matt Taibbi came out with an excellent piece today on his news site, right? It's called "Financial Big Brother is Watching You, a brief note on an overlooked nightmare." Now, to Matt Taibbi, it might be overlooked, but us Bitcoiners know that this financial surveillance thing, the financial Big Brother, is actually the keystone of the entire media industrial complex, censorship industrial complex, military industrial complex. It all comes down to the keystone of finance and whether or not it's surveyable, countable, right? That's why I call my nickname Count BTC. Literally, Bitcoin's advantage is you can count it. We know how much there is. That's it. that's literally it, right? So it's not that complicated. So here he is talking about Jim Jordan and FinCEN, right? FinCEN being like FinTrack in Canada, being like FATF, right? This is a global harmonized system to track financial flows above $10,000 around the world. That's why the SWIFT system works as a messaging courier with money as it goes through correspondent banking. So as you send money from one bank to another, and you have to put a message with it that explains who the money's for, what's it doing. So the SWIFT system is a messaging system. And when you cross a border and you say, I don't have $10,000, that's this whole regime to track money around the world, right? So Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee and the Congress have been talking about FinCEN and the work it's been doing with the trigger words of Trump and MAGA and these other things that are helping engage FinCEN financial censors, right? So he's saying, according to this analysis, FinCEN warned financial institutions of extremism indicators that indicate transportation charges such as bus tickets, rental cars, plane tickets, or travel to areas with no apparent purpose. They look into religious texts, they look into gun buying. They have techniques where they can amass receipts together to get it over the threshold in order to create a report. Basically talking about widespread financial surveillance on political grounds in America with trigger words like Trump, MAGA, firearms, etc., that help motivate this. So all this falls into this line of propaganda that MAGA people are domestic terrorists. It all sort of fits into that world, right? So, but now, and Taibbi compares this situation of financial Big Brother watching in America to what happened in Canada with the truckers. And it's exactly the same thing, right? The thing that was so astonishing about Canada, and the thing that scared a lot of people who have no political dog in the fight in Canada, right? These were, and don't really care. I knew a lot of Wall Street people when the trucker thing happened. I worked on Wall Street for years. I know a lot of rich American Bitcoin Wall Street people that are not sentimental about Bitcoin like we are, that don't really give a shit, but they see why you'd want to de-risk from the government. They're just complete and total Wall Street people, right? All of their day is Wall Street. All of their day is making money. They don't like politics. They're not in on all of this stuff. They just want to make money and go about their lives, right? Normal Wall Street, selfish, greedy people who you can imagine yourself. So these people, without any political dog in the fight, got their money out of Canada instantly when the thing happened. Only because they said, well, there's only 7 banks in Canada. If they're that easy to manipulate from the central government and they're that efficient at surveying the people, that's no place for me. What if I get caught up in this for no reason? So you had a bunch of people de-risk from Canada that day. Canada didn't really realize, they're too stupid. They didn't realize what they're doing. They were throwing away their entire credible, safe banking reputation in order to stop honking of trucks for a couple of days. But they did it and it's too late. They can't take it back. Everyone saw it. It created RFK as a Bitcoiner. The consequences, and I said it when it happened, I thanked Trudeau for all of his hard work on behalf of Bitcoin to spread the word about the power of government to censor and financially track people. we could have never had such a rocket boost as what Justin Trudeau provided us then. And now we see that the same surveillance is coming to America. Some people believe there's a plot in America to get rid of the small and regional banks to make it more efficient, like Canada, in implementing these types of systems. And of course, we saw another bank in the United States go bankrupt this week. Basically, banks that get shut off from the BTFD, right? You know, the buy the fucking dip, but not, right? The thing they created to bail out the banks. That whole thing that they created, they can turn that on and off as they choose to certain banks. So they let this New York Community Bank go, just like they did with all the crypto adjacent banks before, like Signature and Silicon Valley and these kinds of things, right? So they went and did this kind of stuff, right? Yeah, Richard King, the 9/11 Patriot Act was the fox in the chicken house. Yeah, well, we got more fox in the hen houses now. Count is nobility. Yes, it is. It is a mix of those. It is a mix of those. It is a mix. LMH. It's a mix of that. So when you compare that, to the financial tracking that happened in Canada that they're saying happens in the United States, now put that security in your mind and take it to one level further, right? This is what we found out from Mike Benz and Jordan Schachtel. Jordan Schachtel, a speaker at Bitcoin 2023, I think at 2022 as well. Mike Benz, who should be a speaker at Bitcoin 2024. Jordan Schachtel, I'm sure we'll have back Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville. July 25th to 27th. I should have put I got a promo code, Space Drop. If you go, I'll send the link. I'll start putting it in the description. You can get a discount on the tickets if you use promo code Space Drop. And you'll get money off both the Hong Kong show and the Nashville show. So that's my personal promo code. Anytime you want to get a deal from a Bitcoin magazine product, simply put in Space Drop and you'll get the Count BTC Nolan discount. So there you go. So what we found out from Reuters, from Jordan Schachtel, from Mike Benz is the following. Ukraine intends on drafting 500,000 more citizens. Kiev's parliament, which now outlaws opposition parties, will soon allow for bank account seizures as punishment for non-compliance. So if you don't go to the Ukraine meat grinder, the bank gets shut off. You get turned into a Canadian trucker situation. Now, it gets even worse. Apparently, it was the U.S. State Department that made this provision necessary. So this is what Mike Benz says. This is insane. The U.S. State Department forced all Ukrainians to tie their financial assets to their smartphones by developing the DIIA State in Smartphone app for Ukraine. And now Ukrainians who try not to die will have all their assets seized. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny, right? It's not funny. It's kind of funny. Okay. I don't want to see anyone die, but I can't help but laugh. I can't. It's impossible not to, right? So this security thing, where you're safe, how you're safe, who's making you safe, is becoming more and more important, right? It's one word, Space Drop. Yeah, it's one word, Space Drop. Just one word, Space Drop, right? We don't do airdrops. We do space drops. We're not into airdrops, okay? We're into, well, we love airdrops. I shouldn't say that, but we like the space drops too, okay? Space drops and airdrops, nothing to do with each other, right? Airdrops is free crypto shitcoins, right? We love them. They're great. They're hilarious. You can trade it for Bitcoin very easily. Space drops, not even close to the same thing, right? Not even close. So this idea of safety and security is becoming more and more prevalent, and where to understand it. Now, it's true, you can ignore risks if you are too locked into mainstream media. They will hypnotize you to not understand the risks, to not understand what's a danger. But any crack in that facade lets more and more people out. And that's really what we're charting right now, is the ability for one side to persuade with the tools they have versus the other side to persuade with the tools they have. And I see it as an unfair fight now. I see the mainstream media, the legacy media, down to a little bit of force, heavy doses of brainwashing that work less and less. Just a second. Kids are going crazy out there. So the dangers that are out, right? The dangers that are around and about continue to be a more motivating factor. It just depends on which dangers you see, but we're not going to be able to ignore the dangers in, for example, Texas much longer, right? You've got you've got the whole border thing going down. You've got all these people coming over. And now we're starting to see people are investigating Mayorkas, they're trying to impeach him. It failed yesterday. But people continue to wonder who's really pulling the strings with Mayorkas. We saw that a Chinese committee head was one of the Republicans who voted against it, right? I've been saying for a long time that the blackmail that goes on Wall Street is almost, or sorry, in Capitol Hill is almost impossible to perceive. But at this point, you have to assume every decision that makes no sense, that doesn't actually increase the health, wealth, prosperity of America, has some blackmail element to it, right? So this blackmail element to it, we don't know what they are. I don't know anything about Mayorkas or anything about who's blackmailing him or what's going on, really, the person who voted against him when the Republicans. I don't know anything about it, right? But there's something we don't know. We talked about fox in the henhouse earlier, right? The fox is in the henhouse when it comes to the US Congress and what's going on at the border, but we don't understand what's happening. Some people are trying. Brett Weinstein says here, before he was the DHS secretary, Mayorkas was on the HIAS board. HIAS is an NGO that facilitates migration. It literally has an office at the entrance of the San Vicente Chinese migrant camp. Here is Michael Yon's picture of their sign at San Vicente. The camp has been expanded. So now, again, I don't know anything about HIAS. I don't know anything about the Chinese thing. But did you know that at the bill that was written that didn't pass, did you know this? Remember they said that one of the big provisions that everyone was talking about was this thing where they were only allowed 5,000 meetings with illegal crossers a day or whatever they call it, right? So at 5,000, that's what closed the door. One of the things that made Trump go crazy when he was saying it was the shittiest piece of legislation ever in the history of the border. So that 5,000 thing, we found out as we read the details more that Chinese people didn't count. So you could get 5,000 Chinese people and it would still count as zero. And they call it encounters at the border. That was a specific thing put in there. Now, the people who wrote the bill knew. We have to find out who wrote the bill. I mean, we might get some information about that. Did I just imply Mayorkas might be bought? I absolutely implied he might be bought. I don't know if it's bought. Bought would be too simple. I think he's blackmailed. I think no person like Mayorkas, none of his decisions make sense in any logical way. None of them, right? So you're only left guessing, and I'm guessing, right? Don't look here for any investigative research on Mayorkas. I'm not doing it, and I don't know. I'm not, right? It's not happening. I'm looking at people who are wondering where he's coming from, and I'm sharing that information, but I don't know what he did, right? What I'm saying, though, is the reason why he's being kept in place, the reason why he's not taking any action is he's absolutely compromised, right? Absolutely. That's what I think. I think it's the only way to explain it. So, but compromised in what way? We don't know. I mean, I don't know in what way he's compromised, but it explains some of his decisions, right? It explains why that bill on the border exempted Chinese people. I mean, it literally exempted them, right? They weren't a part of it. Now, Senator Rand Paul gave an interview yesterday saying the whole agenda is to take Texas, right? So he says, they say we'll increase employment-based or work-based visas, but only if you give the 18 million people who are already here the right to vote. Everything about immigration is power politics. So this is Rand Paul, right? All they care about is votes. Their whole goal is to take Texas. They've been trying to take Texas for 20 years. The only way they take Texas is legalize a couple million people here illegally and let them vote. The sooner, the better. Now, again, Rand Paul's explanation makes sense. I don't have any proof on it. I don't have any proof. It just fits the situation. There might be information I'm missing, but it to me, it concludes and fills in the blanks of what we don't know, right? It explains an incentive. It explains why you'd want to do this to Texas in particular. Now, go back to the Tucker Carlson facing sanctions, right? And Preston Pysh writes, they don't want you to hear any opinions other than theirs. As the fiat currency neutron star continues to explode, one should expect further intrusion on the freedom of speech. Now, I've said the border in Texas, the Chinese immigrants, now I bet you 99% of those Chinese immigrants are just trying to get out of their own shithole situation, right? So I'm not against Chinese people coming to America to get away from China. Like, that's fine, right? But what about the agents? What about the double, all of these people? So um, go back to what Rand Paul is saying about the border crossings, security, financial surveillance, right? So Canada, excellent at financial surveillance for truckers. Excellent, right? But what about in the most pressing issue in Canada? What about that? And what is the most pressing issue in Canada? The cost of living crisis, the housing crisis, right? Imagine a country like Canada with 10 million square miles of land has a housing crisis. We have 30 million people, less than the state of California, in all of that fucking country, and we have a housing crisis. All right. Well, where did that come from? How is that even possible? And the banks that can survey a cafe owner giving $20 wasn't able to find this out. And this is what we find out. Fake Chinese income. Mortgages fuel Toronto real estate bubble. HSBC bank leaks. I found out a huge mortgage fraud showing borrowers with exaggerated income from one specific country, China. HSBC, this is from Wall Street Silver. HSBC whistleblower claims billions in fraudulent loans made to Chinese citizens to purchase homes in Canada. These wire transfers from China were routed into bank accounts of multiple unrelated individuals in Canada that served as money mules in Byzantine networks involving Canada-based real estate developers, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, and banks. So not only has Canada killed itself from the financial surveillance point of view with no credible people wanting to bank there out of fear, right? What about everyone else now? You know how much they fucked over their population? So Americans, just so you understand how stupid Canada is and what a role the banks have, Canada copied US federalism almost exactly, except banking. They made banking federal. That's the reason why there's only 7 national banks in Canada. That's the reason why they were so efficient in shutting down the truckers' protests with bank surveillance. If they're all federal, it's one phone call. You can get them all in a Zoom and it's done, right? It's done. You had Mark Carney, the greatest financial loser in the history of the world, the former governor of the Bank of Canada, the governor of the BIS, the governor of the Bank of England, who I've met many, many times, worked with him, all the rest of that stuff, right? He was the one who wrote the article saying it'll be so easy, guys. Do it. Just declare martial law and go after the banking information. It's so simple, right? It's so simple. But they can't catch this. They can't see this. And this is actually destroyed. So if you don't know about how Canadian banking mortgages work, so get a load of this, Americans. First of all, not tax deductible, okay? Second of all, your interest rate is mostly variable. You can sign 5-year fixed, but that's it. They don't have 30-year fixed. They don't even have 30 years illegal. Right? You're not allowed a 30-year mortgage. Canadians can't get that. Chinese people probably, but Canadians can't get a 30-year. That they already did that years ago to cool down the housing market when the Chinese money was starting to come in. So so that doesn't work. It's 25 years, variable rates. So everyone got pinched this time. Mortgage rates went way up in Canada they had this exact same interest rate whiplash we had in America. And so everyone's mortgage just goes up. The mortgage goes up. Could you deal with that? Now, I don't know what everyone's situation is, but I bet some people here, like I do, I got a shitty, low rate mortgage in America. And I'm fixed. I don't have to renegotiate it. It's gone. It's already repackaged, sold to some idiot downriver. I don't even remember. There's only like 2 or 3 big buyers of the mortgages in America. I pay them. It's not consequential. I don't pay. I'm in very rural Vermont, so I didn't pay a lot of money for my place, and wanted to borrow from the sinking ship anyway. I didn't feel like paying Bitcoin, straight for it. So that's what I did, and I don't have to stress about it. And in Canada, they have to stress about this, right? More Chinese buyers, and I've seen it. My in-laws sold a house when I left Toronto in 2016 to a Chinese couple, cash, 1 point something million cash, right? No problem. So look at security when it comes to housing, when it comes to the border, when it comes to all these things, and we have new reasons to be afraid, and they're ones the mainstream media simply can't keep up with. Now, all this fake Chinese money and the border security, I didn't know this, right? I didn't know this. Now, this is a bit of a simulation wink. And it's a prediction that I made. I made a prediction a long time ago. And I think I would have made this around the time. So I was always a big believer that the Star Wars movies were telling some kind of truth, right? Empires and these kinds of things. If you take a look at the prequel trilogy, right? What's going on in the prequel trilogy? You have a little known senator. Alex Jones makes this case as well, right? You have a little known senator, Palpatine, who, if you guys are not Star Wars fans, I'll do it really quick for you, right? What he does is he creates a fake economic war on one planet, uses sympathy because he's planned. He's the senator of. No one would believe he's a double character, a duplicitous person, right? No one would believe he would orchestrate a trade blockade on his own planet. So he gets a bunch of sympathy for this planet and the blockade, and he becomes the chancellor, right? So now that he's the chancellor, he now funds a civil war, right? Through his dual identity, he funds a civil war and then gets more power to fight against the civil war, right? And he uses the Jedi and the good guys, and he's on the side of the good guys running the army, but secretly he's also on the side of the bad guys. And then in the third movie, finally, the good guys, it gets switched. They become the terrorists, right? They become the terrorists. So the Jedi become the terrorists, the good guys become the terrorists, and it sort of flips. Now, when the sequel trilogy, The Force Awakens and all, garbage movies, never watched them, right? But when the first one came out, I had a thought. I tried to make the best of it and say, well, maybe it's not so bad. And what I saw was, the runaway stormtrooper, a black guy, right? And the woman, the girl, right? The Mary Sue, Executive Order 66, yes. So when you had those two folks, right? The runaway stormtrooper, black guy, and the girl, right? And then what happens is there's you keep expecting the first time you saw this movie that Luke Skywalker, the hero of the other trilogy, would show up and sort of save the day, right? But it never shows up. Just gone, right? And in the end, the heroes are this runaway black guy and the girl, right? Now, I tried to turn this into, it ends up getting destroyed because the rest of the movies are terrible. But what I saw at the time, to still thinking like the movies would be relevant like the prequels and the originals, I thought that it was a kind of message that in this time around, right, in World War III, you're not going to be able to rely on a bunch of white guys to save the day. It's just not going to happen, right? What you need are these so-called oppressed people to wake up and fight for their own freedom, right? Because the fight isn't going to be for white guys to dominate the world anymore. It's got to be something else, right? So now, I don't mean to say that that's the whole story or whatever, but that was how I took, was how I interpreted it. It went to shit, and you shouldn't interpret the movie that way. It was just what I thought, right? But the thought has lingered with me. Now, I read the Bukele kind of biography yesterday, and if you haven't read it, it's a guy named Graduated Ben, who's great, writes a lot about FinTrack, FinCEN, great writer, wrote what some people call the must-read version of the must-read bio on Bukele, right? So you got a lot of people talking about it yesterday, and it was published on IM 1776, Bukele's War for Peace. And it goes into his entire presidency. And here's what I learned, right? First, did you know what brought Bukele to prominence as first big act as president? It's actually amazing. It's actually amazing. And it fits into this whole theme of someone saving America. El Salvador is the savior, right? It literally means the savior. So what it was an El Salvadorian died crossing the Rio Grande into Texas. Did you know that? Did you know an illegal border crossing is like the first time the international news asked Bukele what his opinions were? And the answer was entirely different. He said, well, he could have easily blamed America or, oh, goodness, what happened, right? No, he said, why are people trying to leave El Salvador? What's wrong with El Salvador? Why, it's our problem. Our country is so shitty and people are leaving. That's what we have to talk about. Why would you have to escape from this country, right? So then I found out a bunch of other stuff. If you read the articles, you find out that was already one sign, but go back to where he comes from. Did you know that all the parties tried to get him off the ballot The judiciary tried to get him off the ballot. He went through everything Trump is going through now with this: you're not eligible to run, you can't run. What happened was the courts were going to bar his political party at midnight on the last day of eligibility for president. And the following day, they were going to inform him, and it would have been too late because that was the cutoff to be a presidential candidate. So he heard about it. And what he did was he abandoned the party he was with and went with a new party overnight. So when they canceled him the next day and told him that your party can't run, he had already gone to another party and was eligible to stand. And that was the end. They couldn't stop him. And he won. And he didn't win by much the first time. He won. Then it goes into his model for changing and fixing the country, right? So remember, it starts with literally a fake news honeypot story, right? Criticize America for the border, and he wouldn't. And then they try to do this thing where he can't run, but he figured that out, right? And exactly like what Trump is going through. So the border issue, the other one with the standing, the legal standing, the corruption of the judiciary, he stood up to both of those, right? So then we find out his model. He created a model of how to fix his country. It's amazing, right? It starts with what they call preparation, which was get the cities clean, and importantly, fix the finances, which is where he learns about Bitcoin. When he sees all of the dark money pools and the lack of transparency and the blackmail and everything like that, he realizes something else is needed. Now, this is not when he institutes Bitcoin, right? So I went to El Salvador in the early days, and he wasn't even really talking about Bitcoin yet, but I heard he was cool and things were changing, and I had just been in South America in 2019. I was there within months of him being elected because La BitConf, I was still with CoinDesk at the time, and I was going to try to partner or buy La BitConf because we wanted to expand into Spanish language shows, and it was the biggest Spanish language Bitcoin show. And so I went down. I'd known the organizers for a while, so I flew down in December 2019. Max and Stacy were there. Andreas Antonopoulos was there. I had a great time. It was an awesome event in Montevideo in Uruguay. And so I met with the whole team there, and they said, well, we're going to El Salvador next year, right? And I was like, El Salvador? I'm not going there. What are you talking about? We're canceled. We're not buying your show. No one's going to El Salvador, right? And they explained to me what was going on. No, this guy, he's different. It's going to be different. It's going to be good by next year. I'm telling you. I said, it's the murder capital of the world. What are you telling me? It's not going to be different, right? So I said, well, let me check this out for myself, right? Because they kept insisting. And this is just before COVID. So I fly to El Salvador on the way home to New York. And I check it out. And I can already tell something's happening, right? Something's happening here. Something different is happening. And so I go back to New York and I say, I think we can do an event in El Salvador. I think it's possible. They told me it was possible. I think big changes are coming to El Salvador. Then COVID hits, and then we don't really hear about much until he comes out in 2021. Now, what we saw, it starts with prep and the financial education. Then it goes to opportunity, which is investing in schools. Then it goes to modernization. An amazing thing happens at this modernization thing, right? Because they use a corrupt judiciary. Again, what we're experiencing every day in America, a corrupt judiciary. They come in, 1 second. Kids are just yelling. So it goes from, it goes to this learning about schools and how to get better equipment in schools. Then a corrupt judiciary comes in and says, you can't arm your police and all of this stuff, right? So they try to ban him from the legislature, but he calls all the people, asks them permission to go in, right? And then does a pretty interesting thing. This is what he does, right? He goes in and some of the congressmen show up to hear his address because he goes and addresses them from the speaker's chair, right? So it's a separation of power system. He goes there and he says, the entire Salvadorian people know, our adversaries know, the international community knows it. If we wanted to press the button, we just press the button. But I asked God, he told me patience, patience, patience. And that was just take it easy and wait. And that's when they finally, they didn't make a big civil war thing there. They went out after and did the plan of incursion and arrested all the people with tattoos on their face. It turns out, and I didn't know this either, that did you know the gang out of El Salvador, the MS-13 people, they're all Satanists, like straight up Satanists. The article goes into we were encouraged to talk to the devil. The devil helped us all the time, right? We could hear his voice. He'd tell us to do this. We want that soul. We want this thing. We want that. And that's kind of, we are dealing with these kinds of forces, right? We're dealing with things that are in an entirely different realm that won't make much sense to MSNBC people, right? But we're at that level now. And what we've seen modeled from El Salvador, everything Bukele has been through, everything he's been through is exactly what Americans need to learn from, which is incredible, right? So imagine we're in this world now where Tucker Carlson is getting censored and maybe sanctioned, right? The Texas border is insecure. Texas and America is learning new decentralized powers. And we have this beautiful model in El Salvador of everything America needs to do in the short term in order to wake up and get with the modern world. And because we have it modeled, it's much more likely that it's going to happen. We've seen it. El Salvador, the savior, is literally in a place to help America in the same way that I just mentioned that Star Wars movie was kind of about, right? America can't necessarily just come out and win World War III. They won the way they won World War II. It's not the world we're in, right? America can be saved this time. And it needs to be saved psychologically and economically. Those are the two things. Those are the two battlegrounds of World War III. World War III is a psychological and economic war. Some people are dying in the hot war version of it, but really it's psychological. So what are you afraid of? Now, again, I go back to my original point. I don't think that, here's the threat they're trying to use, right? Here's the best they can get. The White House says ICE will reduce deportations detention capacity if Republicans don't pass the border bill. So they're gonna blackmail Americans and threaten their security if the Republicans don't do what they say. How well do you think that's going to go in America? How well? Do you know how many Americans are actually waiting to get the guns going? And they think it'll be fun. Do you know how many? They're not afraid of this thing. Let them in. Let's go. Rock and roll. Right? Logan Hall writes, and he uses a picture. So I can, because I'm an English Quebecer, I'm allowed to steal Norm Macdonald's jokes or Norm Macdonald style jokes. Because he's part of my tribe. When there's not many of us in the world, English Quebecers, right? But Norm Macdonald, maybe the funniest person to live in our generation, one of my people, right? And here's what he says, right, about this White House ICE threat. He goes, "Tonight, Democrats have issued a final ultimatum." So Logan Hall wrote this in the voice of Norm Macdonald and put Norm Macdonald's SNL news picture to let you think that it's him saying it, right? "Tonight, Democrats have issued a final ultimatum to the American people. Agree to let them destroy America, or they will keep destroying America." It's not going to work. Their persuasion is down to nothing. It's down to nothing. It's down to saying that a criminal conviction of Donald Trump will change people's minds. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. All right. So, if you think about the level of personal security, again, your own personal security motivation, there's simply no way. There's no way Hillary Clinton nagging you on fake news is going to stop Bitcoin from coming, because inevitably your security is not guaranteed because the financial system is totally opaque. You don't understand anyone's incentives. And that's the realization that Bukele came to when he was rebuilding his country, and he's modeled what we need to do. And it shouldn't be much longer now. Here's what IM 1776 wrote as the tweet with the article. "The reason Western powers hate Bukele is that he shows that an alternative model of governance, one where the common good is the main priority, is far superior than the post-liberal plutocratic systems we find ourselves in." That's all you need to know. The plutocratic era is over. The plutocratic America, where these rich people, and we can't understand anything about their money, where it comes from, the financial engineering, all of that stuff, totally opaque, totally not transparent, totally hidden from the American population through layers and layers and layers of brainwashing and psyops and manipulation. That whole thing is not going to work anymore. It's just not. And we have a model of how to get out of it, and we're going to do it. If not, we'll burn the fucker down. I mean, remember who American people are. Remember for a second who they are, right? Who are they? There are people who are willing to burn down wherever the hell it was they came from first, and they'll do it again. They will do it again, right? You see all these Americans moving to El Salvador already. You think Americans are some kind of oh, I don't want to go out into the world kind of people? Some of them became that over time through the decadence of America, but deep down inside, they've got a code imprint that says, get your ass off the floor and save yourself. Get the hell out of here if you have to. And they will. They will. Well, yeah, and America is an idea. Exactly. Exactly, Jose. It's totally an idea. All right, who do we got here? You mean there's someone in power that's not blackmailed? Yeah. Yeah, Pepe Toche Shaw. He's totally. He looks slimy. Yeah. Completely agree. Syllogism. I don't believe they're stupid. It's by design. There's a mix of both, Pepe. We got dummies and we got designers. And they better get rid of Castro's kids. I don't know if we can, man. It's very corrupted there. I think the elections, the only reason he's still around is I think he knows he can't lose. But we'll see. We'll see. YouTube censoring all your spicy comments. I didn't know that. But we were told, don't worry. What did the multiple chinned guy tell us? He said that they're gonna, you've been doing hate speech. I think, Jose, you've been doing the hate speech, huh? And we're not an authoritative source, so that's it. They are attempting to replace Canadians with the Chinese. I don't think that's it. I think the Chinese are just looking for weak links to get money. They got capital controls. The Chinese are thinking in financial policy more, I think, of how to destabilize the American system than how to stabilize theirs. That's why they keep putting toxic loans into the system. I don't think they're that interested in colonizing Canada or anything like that. That's not what's needed. Let's get 100 people in here. We're over 100. Let's see what we are over on Rumble. Let's see what the Rumble people are saying this morning. Oh, by the way, I will be doing Rumble Studio soon, but there's another problem. Oh, great. We got 219 over on Rumble. Excellent. Moran, a Bitcoin play a day keeps me healthy, wealthy, and wise. Mick Baby Aiken, 1953. I listen every day. Great show. Thank you, Mick Baby Aiken, 1953. Truth is one heck of a drug, Martinez. Yeah. Moran, Biden uses his son for bumps. I think they got him on quite a cocktail, though. We'll see. Sluggo, 123. Good afternoon. Stella, 39. Maybe there's hope for Canada after all. Crypto Joe, love the morning breakups. Thanks, Crypto Joe. Stella says, who? Moran says, Drake, some guy who I don't follow. Yeah, well, he's got the dick pic out there. Google is the threat. American Digital Shield, Stella 39 says. Yeah, they're not good. Yes, Stella, de-googed here. Yeah, I use DuckDuckGo usually. MSN, we just need another shot. VHC, what do you think about Ethereum? I'm only in for Bitcoin, make no mistake. Oh, yeah, I mean, stay away from Ethereum for sure. But, you can think of crypto as consumer technology. There will be another like pumpy, scammy coin that you can ride. I think they're out of gas over at Ethereum. There's more scams coming. So I wouldn't do that one. And it's all, the quality of people over there is going down fast. Most of the more clever ones in that world went to Solana, as far as I can tell, right? I wouldn't think Solana has much pump left either, but I don't know. I don't follow it as much. Jawas versus Tusken Raiders. It's a two-state solution possible for Tatooine. Hard to have peace when Jabba the Hutt is playing both sides. Yeah, banker wars forever. It's all about dem Iser swords. Yeah. That's why the cartel and the government get along so well. Yeah, bunch of satards, devil, yeah, debauchery. Yeah, can you believe that I didn't understand. I knew some people said, "Oh, they're Satanists." I didn't understand that they were born of Satanism. They were born as a satanic cult. I didn't know any of that. They were born as a satanic cult. If you read the article, you'll find that out. I had no idea. I had no idea Satanism was institutionalized at the cartel level. It does explain a lot. It actually explains a lot, right? Bukele is a brilliant statesman, most likely the level of founders of America. Yeah. El Salvador may become the salvation of many nations. I believe so. Yeah, I believe you're right, veterans. And isn't the simulation just like, think of the winks we're getting from the simulation here? The border story, he's involved. The money story, he's involved. You're not fit to stand election to be president because of judicial corruption story. He's involved in all of this stuff. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. So he's got a lot of talking points to connect with Trump or whoever else. Kids are yelling. Not hard to believe. Yeah. Hillary and them attend the same coven. Americans need to understand that good and evil are not relative. They're absolutes. Yeah. Evil is very real. It sure is. It really is. Yeah. I miss Norm. We all do, Bitcoin Dev. It just would have been the best. They probably black men. You think these gang members were saying a bunch of baloney? It could be a big mental illness problem in El Salvador. It's so much older. No, so it maybe in the sense that I don't know what was going on there recently, but if you read the history of it, before they were gangs, the Satanism was very, very real. So I don't know if you could fake that kind of history, but maybe. I consider myself a patriot, but I'm 100% moving to El Salvador. So I love the idea of America. I love America. I love all the states. I love American people. I'm as pro-America a person you'll ever find. But I'm not very patriotic about the systems anymore, right? And I think, again, the big blind spot Americans have is patriotism mixed up with the dollar, with the money, right? That's insane. So I am 100% a patriot of America, but not so much that I would feel embarrassed by getting saved by El Salvador, right? And I think we have to be. I think we're going to owe in America, all of our states, a lot to Bukele. And indeed, founding father level is where he's headed, right? So that's great. That's great. Not to the Google CEO level, who will never remember, right? Who will never remember. All right. That's all I got for today, guys. We're good. We're good. We're going to win. We're winning. We're kicking ass. Take it easy.